Pokémon Gold's cover legendary, Ho-Oh, is perhaps one of the most iconic legendary Pokémon in the franchise. Over the generations, Ho-Oh has remained an excellent choice in every generation of competitive Ubers, always being ranked a solid A-tier Pokémon, with Gen 4 Ubers being the one exception where it was ranked a B-tier Pokémon. Ho-Oh's insane special bulk, good attack stat, great offensive and defensive typing, as well as superb move pool has always made Ho-Oh stand out as a very versatile cornerstone on balance teams. Ho-Oh has truly stood the test of time. A lot of Pokemon that are as old as Ho-Oh are likely to fall behind due to power creep, but not Ho-Oh. Ho-Oh has actually been getting better throughout the generations. With Ho-Oh's latest reintroduction in Gen 8, it is perhaps at its all-time peak in the Ubers metagame, almost being considered a S-tier Pokemon. So what makes Ho-Oh so great in competitive play, and how has it managed to stay incredible for so long? Ho-Oh has a great stat distribution, having an impressive 130 base attack stat and a monstrously high special bulk thanks to its 154 base special defense, supported by 106 base HP. Ho-Oh could make great use of its good attack stat by firing off two powerful step moves, this being Brave Bird and Sacred Fire, which used to be Ho-Oh's signature move until Gen 6, where Entei also gained it. These two moves on their own are very difficult to switch into, especially since Sacred Fire has a 50% chance to leave the target with a burn, which dealt 12.5% of the target's max HP every turn before the nerf in Gen 7, and of course can heavily cripple any physical attacker that dares to switch into it by having their physical attacks. The only downside of this move is that 5% chance of missing, which will screw you over when you least expect it. These powerful moves, coming off a 130 base attack stat, boosted by Life Orb, made Ho-Oh a very intimidating threat, as it does not have a true counter. Even the few exceptions that can take Ho-Oh's step moves, like Heatran and Tyranitar, get obliterated by Ho-Oh's coverage option Earthquake. Offensive Ho-Oh is especially threatening with Sun support from Groudon. Sun boosts Ho-Oh's Sacred Fire, reduces incoming water type attacks, and reduces the accuracy of the move Thunder, which is a common move in the Ubers metagame. If it wasn't enough, Ho-Oh can also use Roost to mitigate the recall damage from Brave Bird and Life Orb, easing the drawbacks of them, allowing it to stay around longer. Ho-Oh can 2-hit kill most Pokemon in Ubers, making it a force to be reckoned with. Life Orb could even be switched out by leftovers, in combination with Substitute or with a choice item like Choice Band and Choice Scarf, with the move Punishment to do heavy damage to targets boosting up their stats. Ho-Oh's great defensive typing also lacks common weaknesses, which allows Ho-Oh to take great advantage of its special bulk. It makes it the defensive behemoth. This allowed Ho-Oh to easily check specially oriented offensive threats like Darkrai and Mewtwo. Ho-Oh also naturally checks Pokemon like Groudon lacking Stone Edge and Shining Sky. On more specially defensive oriented sets, Ho-Oh can even check Pokemon that would otherwise beat it like Kyogre and Palkia, using Light Screen to enhance its special bulk even more, using Toxic to attempt to stall them out. This set would use Recover over Roost in some cases to have an easier time beating Groudon lacking Stone Edge. The beauty of Ho-Oh's specially defensive oriented set is that Ho-Oh can threaten the steel types that can take Toxic by using Sacred Fire. This set also makes Ho-Oh difficult to take out by special attackers, and with the Sacred Fire's burn chance can also make Ho-Oh difficult to take out on the physical side. Of course, with this set, Heatran can very easily wall it. Ho-Oh has one very obvious problem though, the introduction of Stealth Rock. Stealth Rock are dominant in any singles metagame due to their ability to heavily punish switching, which is a lot of. Ho-Oh is especially a victim of this as it takes 50% upon switching in. Stealth Rock are also quite difficult to remove prior to Gen 6, as Defog only removes hazards from the opponent's sides and not your own. This leaves Rapid Spin as the only way to remove hazards from your own side, which is difficult to do with spin blockers like Guaranteed Origin and Arceus Ghost, being very common in Gen 4 and Gen 5 Ubers respectively. Stealth Rock being so good is actually why Ho-Oh is ranked B tier in Gen 4. Ho-Oh can however somewhat mitigate the Stealth Rock damage with Roost, and is still a very dangerous offensive threat worth a team slot for sure. In Gen 5, Ho-Oh got blessed with one of the best abilities in the franchise, this being Regenerator. Regenerator allows Ho-Oh to heal 33% of its max health by simply just switching out. This is a massive buff for Ho-Oh for obvious reasons. First of all, this heavily negates Ho-Oh's Stealth Rock weakness, as it only takes a net 70% damage, which is a big step up from 50%. Regenerator also gives Ho-Oh a lot of durability and greatly improves its role as a bulky pivot. Regenerator can easily heal up any chip damage like Toxic, Brave Bird and Life Orb Recall too, making Ho-Oh way more durable and means that it's not forced to use Roost as much. While it still despises taking 50% from Stealth Rock, it's not as big of a deal as it was in Gen 4. Ho-Oh also happens to be one of the best natural checks to Arceus Ghost, Speed with Blaziken, Ferrothorn, Guaranteed Origin and the newly introduced Genesect, with Arceus Ghost and Genesect being two of the best Pokemon in Gen 5 Ubers. Arceus Ghost has no chance of breaking past Ho-Oh's insane special bulk, and Ho-Oh can easily take Genesect's stab options and also takes nothing from its coverage options with the exception of Thunder. With Sleep Talk and Choice Band, Ho-Oh was also an excellent check to Dark Void Darkrai, as it does not care about special moves and can use Sleep Talk to take advantage of Dark Void. Ho-Oh also got Flame Charge as a new tool, which it can use to increase its speed stat and turn itself into a great late game sweeper. Ho-Oh was a premier threat in the tier and was found on all sorts of teams due to how great and versatile it is. In Gen 6, Ho-Oh also happened to be one of the best checks to Geomancy Xerneas, one of the tier's most dangerous sweepers, as well as especially offensive Yveltal and even Mega Lucario. The Defog buff also directly impacted Ho-Oh, as it was now easier than ever to get rid of Stealth Rock on the field, with the Lottie twins being premier Defoggers. Not to mention that Mega Diancie and Sableye were introduced as great Magic Ball users to keep Stealth Rock off. This made getting Ho-Oh on the field significantly easier and allowed it to be the threat we all know it is. That being said, Ho-Oh did not appreciate the introduction of Primal Groudon and Kyogre, as it could no longer take advantage of Sun, and the one time it could, it would mean facing Primal Groudon, which can take it on quite easily. Primal Kyogre's Rain also made it immune to Sacred Fire, so no more chance to burn as well. However, Ho-Oh was still a very dangerous threat in the tiers despite this. In Gen 7, Ho-Oh's Regenerator was finally compatible with Move Defog, increasing Ho-Oh's utility even more and allowing it to get rid of the annoying Stealth Rocks itself. This was especially great as it could beat a new common Stealth Rocker in the tier, Necrozma Duskmane. Duskmane is one of the best Pokemon in the tier, but thanks to Ho-Oh's typing it could check it and beat it as a Defogger. You did have to be wary of Stone Edge on offensive sets though. Being able to check the dangerous Marsh Shadow is also not something that should be ignored. In Gen 8, however, Ho-Oh probably gained one of the most significant buffs ever, Heavy Duty Boots. This newly introduced item completely got rid of the big problem that has always been bothering Ho-Oh for many generations, Stealth Rock. With this item, Ho-Oh could now completely ignore opposing Stealth Rock and avoid that 50% damage on switching, making Ho-Oh significantly harder to take down, especially with Regenerator 2. This is the one buff that almost pushed Ho-Oh to a S tier Pokemon, with it being ranked at the top of A+. Of course, Ho-Oh had to be wary of knockoff from Pokemon like Yveltal and Necrozma Duskmane, but Heavy Duty Boots was still a godsend for it and made it one of the most critical defensive staples and an important glue for team building in a Gen 8 Ubers metagame. Ho-Oh also happens to be one of the best checks to the newly introduced Calyrex Shadow. This is the strongest special attacker in the entire metagame, and it will shred teams apart that don't use Yveltal and a backup check to it, which would be Ho-Oh in most cases. Not to mention that Ho-Oh was also an excellent check to the very common Eternatus and could cripple it as well. Ho-Oh was almost perfect in Gen 8, with the only things holding it back being its 4 times weakness to rock attacks and it being very susceptible to knockoff. Ho-Oh has remained a staple in the Uber's metagame despite Stealth Rock actively trying to ruin its career. And with Hefty the Boots, it reached new levels never seen before, despite being a legendary Pokemon that was introduced all the way back in Gen 2. I am very certain that if Ho-Oh would return to Gen 9, it will be excellent once again. It can serve as a great check to CHN Crowned, Fluttermane, Eternatus, and even more, especially with Terra at its disposal. Unfortunately, its counterpart Lugia has not been so fortunate. Check out why in this video on the screen. Let me know your thoughts about Ho-Oh in the comments. How do you think it will perform in Gen 9? And what should I talk about next? If you want to see more content like this, you can let me know by liking the video and subscribing to the channel if you are new. Thank you for watching and see you next time.